to Sacred Harmony. Today, we are joined by Robert, the visionary behind Roots Kava Bar and an ethnogenic online shop. Robert's work is all about creating spaces where people can gather, connect, and experience natural plant medicines in a safe, intentional way. From Kava's calming traditions to the wider conversations around ethogens. His journey blends community, consciousness, and the business of healing. Welcome to the show, Robert. It's such an honor to have you.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on.
So, Robert, what inspired you to open Ruth Kava bars in the first place?
My journey began a little bit early on. We were very engaged in herbal supplements, and I found that, I could have ways to unwind and, socialize without alcohol or caffeine. And my eyes are open from, I'd say, 10 years ago as we've developed our online business. And last October, we saw that one of our local kava bars, and from New York, so kava bars are not very popular here. They unfortunately were going out of business. The health department is very strict here in New York with herbal supplements and how they allow you to serve them. So the previous owner, unfortunately, was serving them in open containers, which led to him racking up a ton of money in fines. And he unfortunately had to go out of business due to that. So in October, me and the wife saw the business shutting down, and I reached out to him, and he was open to selling the business. So this helped pay off his fines that he had owed, and also allowed the place to stay alive for the community and flourish. So we kept everything the same, but we incorporated a ton of different herbs. I'm sure we'll go over some of them. But like blue lotus and kanna and other entheogenic plants that incorporated in our own way. But essentially, we saw the opportunity that the place was closing, that we were growing our herbal supplement space online, which allowed us to help transfer over to the flagship store. And then, we saw the opportunity, we took it up, and we've been doing it for the last year. Me and the wife have thoroughly enjoyed our time there, and we plan to keep growing.
That's amazing. And
Yeah,
did you imagine it just as a business, or from the start, did you see it as a community hub?
correct. Yeah, we're very, engaged. It's more than just a business with any of this. This is definitely like more of a mission statement from the online sales to the storefront. What we're able to provide there is like a place where we could have, almost as a wellness center, where we have, different sound baths and meditation and yoga, services that we can join with the local businesses to come and help provide. So the space that we are able to present there, whether it's, spiritual music or sound baths or whatever the above that I had mentioned is, it turns it into a place where it's a hub for a spiritual engaging environment for people to come and find like-minded conscious individuals and to develop themselves. So definitely, of course, we're definitely want to make sure we're sustainable. So we definitely are somewhat profit driven in that regard, because we need to have a hindsight focus on making sure this is something that can be lasting a long time for people. But other than that, we definitely are on the vision of providing a place and space for people to come together in a spiritual incubator.
Yeah, that paints such a vivid picture of kava as more than a drink. Like it's a ritual of connection.
Yeah, no, for sure. Especially, Kava has very long-lasting traditions in the Pacific Islands and Fiji, where it's used in social ceremonies, social gatherings, and spiritual use cases. So this has a long-dated history. It's not just some sort of modernized herbal supplement that's getting popular. It's something that's been in the community for a long time. That is very, ceremonial in its use case. It's just now getting traction here in the United States. Maybe about 10 years ago in Florida, it started getting very popular. Now it's starting to spread out the last 5 years across the country.
Yeah, 100%.
Sweet.
And kava has deep cultural roots. How do you honor its traditions while making it accessible to modern audience?
Yeah, we definitely, it stinks. New York is very strict. We would love to have like traditional ceremonial, indigenous folk come in and honor and serve it the traditional methodologies, which is essentially a massive bowl they'll come in with, more traditional folk, and they'll serve it in coconut shells. But unfortunately, our state is so strict with the health department and how and what they allow, whereas we can't sell anything that's not prepackaged, which is very unfortunate, to honor the roots, I would love for that to be the case. But the way they had forced our hand in regards to not being able to serve it traditionally, which is very unfortunate. But we do have very benign, simple ingredients in our product, which is the traditional brews that one would get in Fiji, but it just has to be canned or bottled, unfortunately. But we are actively, getting our communities together to reach out to our local legislation and try to make the change to be able to offer it and honor it in its traditional methodologies. The FDA just recently declared kava as food in a push from indigenous communities trying to change how the FDA regulated it. So that is a positive change that hopefully will send ripples our way eventually. But as for now, we have to serve it in like a non-traditional way, which is very unfortunate. But yeah, we do honor it in the sense that we don't add flavors and fruits and, preserve whatever it is. We have just a natural form of the kava that we offer. Although it is bottled and packaged, it still is in its traditional method and way where it's just the brewed root with water.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you ever found people are curious about the history behind what they're sipping?
Yeah, we actually have a raw kava root that we show that we have there from some of the farms that we've sourced from. And we show people, this is the root itself, this is the plant, so people have a little bit better understanding. We do have a lot of information provided in our bar talking about kava's original use cases and such like that. And then, we get a lot of new people in there. So oftentimes we do have to educate consumers into what exactly kava is. It's a newer thing, so not many people are used to it. So, talking about traditional use cases and how it's being popularized here. We supply from small family farms that essentially provide it in like, traditional format. And then we are able to process that into drinks and such like that.
Yeah, that shows how education and experience can blend. Like every cup tells a story.
For sure. For sure. And how people respond, their bioassay and how they experience it, But it is a really beautiful thing where our bar is able to provide this safe space for people, whereas, an alcohol bar would be a little bit more, and obviously, this is, dependent, but most of the times, the more times than not, an alcohol bar is, has like some belligerent people and, loud and rowdy, whereas the kava bar is its much different experience, people having very deep, meaningful conversations. So they'll have a drink that helps them get into a flow state and calm, relaxed energy where they might not have felt that previously, and they're able to go deeper within themselves. The kava itself may not be the spiritual tool, although I do hear reports of high doses of kava allowing you to have very spiritual experiences. I've had high doses where I did feel more connected and more at peace, but not exactly like psychedelic per se. But some consumers do attest to having psychedelic experiences, whereas, you know, um, some of the other herbs, such as blue lotus, does have psychoactive properties and can allow some of our consumers to go a little bit deeper within themselves and to feel more profound feelings and have deeper thoughts that help, them, live a better life and see things in a different angle and perspective that they could keep with them after they have their experience.
Yeah, 100%. So owning a kava bar is unique. What challenges have you faced that people might not expect?
Definitely the health department issue, that's for sure. Um, honestly too is sourcing, because from the e-commerce to the kava bar, sourcing, especially now with the new change of geopolitical landscape with these tariffs and everything like that, it has become much more challenging. Not just finding a reliable source, but also making sure that it arrives properly. Some steps that we've had to go recently is registering with the FDA, um, with our kava bar, and then having the a small family farm shipped to not just our address, but shipped to a local airport where we then have to go pick it up from the airport dock, which is an experience I never thought I'd have to do to help people have a wellness product. But here we are, it's, and then not to mention, dealing with and trying to dial in like a great staff. We thankfully are in a really great place now where we have a lot of really humble, sweet, considerate staff members. Over time, it takes a bit to get to where a place where the way we try to do it is it's as if we're like a family. We're very close friends. It's not this hierarchy. It's we're all equals, and now we're in a good space where we have a staff that all treats each other as family and friends, and we all look out for each other's best interest. And that's the way it should be in a space that we're hosting, like we are. So staffing to supply to legislation and doing things properly with the state. It's definitely a lot more than most people think it is. But I do enjoy these things. I very much am an ADHD person, so juggling these multitude of angles is something that I honestly very much enjoy. At times, it can be difficult for sure. Some people are, you know, you'll have theft and stuff like that. Because we have a lot of stuff on the shores, on the shelves, which is crazy in a space like ours. But enough foot traffic, you're gonna deal with anything. From people that aren't in our community that come there, check it out, and leave and take something with them, which is crazy. But these are realistic things that happen in the world of business that most people don't really think of going into it. But to be mentally prepared, to be physically prepared, and to make sure that you are capable and willing to pivot and change and adjust as needed is extremely crucial and important. Actually, another angle too is sorry to cut you off, but you know we do a lot of work with Kana. And Kana is a heart opener and a pathogenic herb that helps connect you to your feelings and emotions tremendously, more so than almost any other herb, in my opinion. It will help it very much will help if you're in a therapeutic setting and you really need like a way to open up and talk, similar to how MDMA is being used for PTSD and stuff like that, and especially Australia where it's legalized for prescription use. Kana works on similar receptors and is able to do the same things. So it can help tremendously if someone is suffering from PTSD or traumas that they haven't been able to open up and release and talk about, where Kana can help that. We're talking about the struggles and stuff like that of it all. Just want to get into saying how like Kana is one of our biggest herbs that we sell, specifically online. And Kana, we actually have a farm that we're leasing down in South Africa. We're actually, me and my wife are leaving later today to go to South Africa to the farm for the first time. And, people don't realize the extent of things that go into it all. Like this plant, for example, like you need to grow high potency crop to have an extract that will have a therapeutic effect on people. And the amount of challenges it takes to try to grow a high potency crop is um, most people don't even realize, from the growing, so from the soil it grows in to the development of breeding of certain crops that are of therapeutic value to optimizing its growth to help it potentiate its potency, to how you harvest it. Then you have to ferment it to increase its alkaloid content, getting multiple lab tests done to show its content percentage. But these are the necessary steps that you need to take to try to showcase a high potency Kana crop. And high potency Kana has a world of therapeutic value, which is unlike anything else. Especially if you get a low potency crop, it is not the same. So all these angles, just in the business owner aspect of the Kava Bar, but then now that we're entering the space of growing, harvesting, extracting, and all that, there's a whole nother depth to it that most consumers might just think you just grow it, consume it, where you need to breed it, you need to grow it in a certain way, you need to condition it a certain way, you need to have the right nutrients, you have to have the right environment. Like it just is endless. So but again, these are things that I personally enjoy and find they give me life. I very much enjoy these things and diving down these rabbit holes.
That's amazing. And how do you balance the business side with the mission of creating a healing space?
Yeah, there's an interesting balance, right? Because you need to have like some sort of aspect of like, how could you not serve, the traditional way or, whatever. But I think the business and the healing aspect is that, we have certain fine points that me and the wife, determine and agree on, like, you know, food colorings, high fructose corn syrup you don't like, because we want that wellness, we want that, healing center aspect, but we're not going to cut corners. We're not going to get the cheapest product or offer create the cheapest product. We're going to do things right. We're going to do high quality ingredients that people deserve. We're going to find the line of, what herbs are okay and what herbs are not okay. So I guess essentially it's just going to be is look at each perspective, each variation, and determining what is going to be the ethical way to handle it. But ultimately, we essentially not just that, but touching base with the community and having the community come together on, an open mic where people could do poetry and people could do a wellness or guided meditation. So offering different services aside from a place just to have a drink, is a way that we can find that balance as well.
Yeah, that really highlights the reality that sacred work still requires practical grounding.
Correct, correct. Especially in the world of business, it'd be different if you have a commune or you're out someplace else, but there is a balance, for sure. We definitely love that world of spirituality and connectedness, but like you said, you have to ground yourself in certain ways and be practical in others to be able to develop these platforms for people.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Robert reminds us that healing doesn't always happen in clinics or classrooms. It can happen around a shared cup, in community, and through traditions that reconnect us with nature. His work with Roots Kava Bar shows how businesses can also be a form of service, offering both grounding and expansion. So, if you have been curious, maybe it's time to sit, and see what opens for you.
Absolutely.